Do you know the story of Human Rights Day? So there is a story behind Human Rights Day, right? The World Human Rights Day, because today, December 10th, we celebrate International Human Rights Day. And the slogan for this International Human Rights Day is dignity, freedom, and justice for all. The call to action is hashtag stand up for human rights. So now we need to understand more about this human rights and Human Rights Day. Before understanding Human Rights Day and its relevance, we need to understand first what is human rights. So let us understand that. Human rights are inherent to all of us, regardless of nationality, sex, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other status. So it is inherent to all of us because they are not granted by any state or institution. They range from the most fundamental, that is the right to life, to those that make life worth living, such as the right to food, education, work, health, and liberty. So everything is actually covered in this human rights. For the comprehensive development of an individual, human rights is a necessary aspect. Because without freedom, without equality, it is very difficult to develop yourself. It is very difficult to develop your personality in such an environment. So human rights is a very important, needed, inherent right to all of us. So in India also, same lines with the human rights, we have certain rights which are actually granted by our constitution. As you are all aware about the fundamental rights. The fundamental rights are enshrined in our constitution. Part 3 of the constitution discuss about the fundamental rights. Article 12 to Article 35 of the constitution is actually discussing about fundamental rights. When we are comparing our fundamental rights with the human rights, we need to add one more provision into it. Then only our fundamental rights and the Indian perspective of rights will get more completion, or it will get a fulfillment. That is the DPSP, the Directive Principles of State Policy. When we are taking fundamental rights and directive principles together, you can see that many of the aspects which are actually covered in the human rights or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are covered in these two important provisions, the fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy. So I hope you got an idea about what is human rights. These are inherent rights to all of us. While enjoying these fundamental rights, there should not be any discrimination. Why it is actually getting more prominence now on this particular day, the December 10th, why we are celebrating Human Rights Day? For that, we need to understand what is Universal Declaration of Human Rights, because that can actually answer this particular question. Let us try to know about it. World Human Rights Day. Every year on 10th December, the world celebrates Human Rights Day. It is the very day when, in 1948, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So basically, we are commemorating that particular day, the day in which the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted. That is December 10th. We all know about the United Nations organization. After the Second World War, in order to establish peace and security in the world, we established United Nations organization. In its preamble, the UDHR highlighted the recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. So in UDHR itself, they have clearly describe the importance of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Through this, they are trying to establish the greater good of the humanity. So in their website itself, they have clearly mentioned that our hope is to increase knowledge of the UDHR, that is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as a foundational blueprint for taking concrete actions to stand up for human rights and tackle pressing global issues today. Very, very important. So we clearly understood the challenges that we are actually going through in our world. So in order to tackle those pressing global issues, it is very, very important for us to understand and to be aware about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So that is why we are celebrating this particular day. Every year, December 10th is actually celebrated as Human Rights Day. UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in the year 1948, December 10th. It was the first legal document to set out the fundamental human rights to be universally protected. Very important to understand this, because before this document itself, human rights were there, but it was not having that legal sanction. So it got that legal sanction when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was established, because it was the first legal document that describes or explains the importance of fundamental human rights. The UDHR turned 74 in the year 2022. That means in the year 2023, we are going to celebrate the 75th year of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And now also it continues to be the foundation of all international human rights law. Its 30 articles provide the principles and building blocks of current and future human rights conventions, treaties and other legal documents. Very important, because it is the foundation for almost all the human rights conventions, treaties and other legal documents. There are 30 important articles in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which becomes the building blocks for all these conventions, all these treaties which are related to human rights. The UDHR, together with two covenants. So what are those covenants? The International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant for Economic, Social and Cultural Rights make up the International Bill of Rights. So UDHR with these two covenants make the International Bill of Rights. The UDHR enshrines the rights of all human beings. From right to education to equal pay, UDHR established for the first time the indivisible and inalienable rights of all humanity, which means nobody can take away these rights. These are inherent to all of us. UDHR calls upon everybody to stand up for human rights, because we all have a role to play. We need to understand about the human rights. We need to be aware about our human rights. Then only we can protect our own human rights and the human rights of the entire humanity. We need an economy that invests in human rights and works for everyone. So basically, the objective of human rights is the welfare of all. Understanding the importance of freedom, equality, justice, everything is covered in our human rights itself. So everybody should be aware about our human rights, not only on this particular day, every moment we should be aware about our human rights. I hope you got an idea about the human rights and the World Human Rights Day and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So a happy news for all of you. It's regarding the Indian Polity Mastery offer for the Advanced Membership Program, which covers more than 18 courses in more than 300 recorded videos and notes. And the original price is 14,999, but for this offer during the month of December, you will be getting it at 2,999 rupees. So grab this opportunity, because not only these courses, you will be having weekly webinars on the current affairs, the static topics and the exam preparation. I'll be waiting for you. Grab this opportunity. Thank you.